Hi COD, this is Ramon again. I'm bringing you part 2 of Personal Branding 101. I'm super excited to continue to talk about some ways you can make your personal one-on-one or in-person brand just as strong as your digital brand as well. So, the first thing I want to talk about is eye contact. Now, no matter where you go, everyone always tells you to have solid eye contact, right? They always tell you that if you're going to go on a job interview, if you're going to, go into a networking meeting, you have to make great eye contact. But I know some of you guys get really nervous when it comes to eye contact. I know I used to, like looking at people's eyes. It makes you nervous. It makes you weird, makes you feel weird, makes you feel awkward, but it's okay. You don't have to be afraid to make eye contact with people. I know it's something that we're not comfortable with all the time, but there's a way around that. And I want to give you guys a few tips to help you guys to make proper eye contact so you won't be weird as well. The first thing is you want to make sure you look but don't stare. You don't have to stare at somebody. You don't have to look at them and gaze them in their eyes. That's not the goal of eye contact. The goal of eye contact, which goes to my second point, is to look just long enough to register the color of their eyes. That's it. Just look in the, hey, you got brown eyes, not saying that, but you look at their eyes, you notice they have brown eyes, you notice they have blue eyes, and that's it. And you can look away and then look back and look away, but it gives you some momentum that you can use to continue to make sure that you're making good eye contact, but you're not staring at somebody, right? And the last thing is to make really good eye contact is just to practice. Practice in groups, practice with individual people, but the more you practice it and you get used to it, when you're meeting someone new, you practice and force yourself to do it, it makes you that much more comfortable to communicate, but to also make good eye contact as well. So just be aware of that and know that when you're making it, okay? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this thing called charisma. Because when it comes to your in-person brand and talking to people and communicating people, everyone will tell you that, man, charisma is a big deal, right? Everyone loves charismatic people. Everyone loves people who are the life of the crowd. And sometimes if you don't have that kind of personality, you can feel kind of intimidated. You can feel kind of frustrated. You can feel like, man, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe I don't have enough personality to truly be successful. But the reason why I love this book that you see on the screen by Olivia Fox-Cabane, The Charisma Myth, is because you don't have to have the same charisma as somebody else to be charismatic. And you can build your charisma to be better. You don't have to be born with it. That's the biggest myth when it comes to charisma, that, you're just born that way, right? Some people are just born more naturally talkative than others. Some people are just born more naturally excited than others. And I don't think that's true. That you can learn and grow to be more charismatic. And that's what I want to talk about right now. Now, in the book, she talks about 3 major keys to charismatic people that if you work on and you increase, you can become more charismatic. The first one is power. The second one is presence. And the third one is warmth, okay? The first one is power. The second is presence. And the third one is warmth. And I want to talk about each of those. Now, the first one is power. Now, usually when you think about charisma, yes, there are powerful people. We think about, like your Donald Trumps or your Oprahs or your Steve Jobs or your Will Smiths, right? We think about, or Jim Carreys or Bill Clintons. We think about these big personalities, these, extremely, flamboyant people that when they walk into a room, they control the atmosphere. You may look at them and say, I can never be that way. But guess what? You don't have to be. You can truly be yourself and still be a powerful person. See, truly charismatic people, the way I translate power is they know how to serve people with their power. Like, truly charismatic people, the way and the reason why they're charismatic is they know how to serve people with their power, right? Let me give you an example. There was a time in my life, probably last year around this time, I got a chance to meet the founder and the president of ESPN. Awesome guy. He literally founded the entire network. It's a $60 billion network. And literally for about 4 or 5 hours, I was in the living room with him and a few other people. And we got a chance to talk to him literally about how he started ESPN, how he built the network up, how he grew the organization, how he grew the company, the things that he's went through. And it was an incredible experience. I loved it. It was an amazing opportunity for me to meet somebody who's been pivotal in the entire sports industry, that he started the network that literally owns or captures about 75% of all the men in the world. ESPN does. It is the only network that captures that percentage of men in any other network in the world. And I was able to talk to him. I was able to ask him questions. I was able to communicate with him, right? Now, he's a very charismatic person. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of connections. He has a lot of influence. And I thought he was a cool guy, but I didn't feel connected to him until he said one thing. And that one thing was, he asked us as a group, how can I use my influence to serve you guys? And that to me is what instantly connected me to him. That he decided he wanted to use his magnificent influence, his incredible opportunities, the people that he knew, and he wanted to use that to serve the people that were in that room. That's what made me connect to him. That's what made me feel like he was authentic. That to me is what made him a charismatic person for me. And that's something that you can work on. You don't have to have this big personality. You don't have to have this incredible voice, but you can just work on every day. How can I serve people with my influence? How can I take my influence, the connections I have, the spectrum and an influence that I have, the things that I know, the things that I can do? How can I serve other people with it? How have I served other people with it? And how can I do that better to make myself more connected to those people that are around me? That is number one. That is the first thing you can do to be a more charismatic person. Okay? Number two. The second one she talks about that in that book, the second thing she talks about is presence, right? Now, usually when we think about presence, again, we think about those big personalities. We think about those people who literally, their presence can fill the room. Their presence can fill the entire spectrum of what's happening, right? They walk into a room and they have presence, right? But again, you don't have to have presence the way you may think of it in order to truly be a charismatic person. To me, and what I define presence as, is just simply being present, right? Because far too often in our lives, we go through life, we got to go to the grocery store, we got to go to the bank, we got to go to our job, we got to take care of the kids, we got to go to the school, and we do all these things in our life in which we are literally ignoring the human beings that are around us. And those people who are truly charismatic, they're able to stop and truly let you know, and truly make you aware that they are present with you. And if you want to be more charismatic, if you want to grow that, you have to learn how to be more present. When I was a few months ago, I had to volunteer at a nonprofit gala, and I was basically an usher there. It was like about 5 or 6 of us, and we were ushering people to their cheers. But all of a sudden, the superintendent of the Tulsa school system came into the room, and literally everybody was asking for her. It was like, "Hey, Miss So-and-so, how you doing? We want to talk to you. So happy to see you. Congratulations on being superintendent." She had just got elected superintendent, and everyone was looking for her and taking pictures with her and super excited. But she literally paused everyone that was around her, and she walked up to each and every one of us, people who seemed insignificant, people who seemed like they was just there to serve, people who no one else was paying attention to. And she walked to each and every one of us. She looked us straight in the eye, and she said, "How are you today?" And that, to me, made me feel connected to her. That she was present in the moment, in the midst of everybody who wanted her attention, in the midst of everybody who wanted her time. She decided to be present in that very moment and make me feel connected to her. That, to me, is what truly charismatic people do. Okay? And the last one that Olivia Cabane talks about in her book, she talks about power, she talks about presence, and she talks about warmth, right? You know, people who we think and we see as charismatic, we see them as being warm individuals, easy to warm up to, easy to talk to, easy to connect to. But you know what makes charismatic people warm? You want to know what that is? It's authenticity. That one of the biggest things you can do to be more charismatic is to be authentic. Another way I could translate authenticity is vulnerable. That people who are vulnerable, people who are willing to share not only the good things, but the bad things they've experienced. Maybe they're able to be real about their issues in their life, real about the things they've experienced. That, to me, is what makes truly warm or authentic people. It's not enough to look at someone and see that they're perfect in what they do, right? And hey, this person is perfect in this, they're perfect in that. But what makes us feel connected is when we can see the faults that people have been through. We can see the areas in our life that they have not been great at, and we can connect to those faults. That's one of the reasons why Oprah has become such a charismatic person, because she's not afraid to share her failures. She's not afraid to share issues and areas in her life that she's growing in. And that's why so many people connect to her, because she feels and seems like the everyday woman. She doesn't seem like the perfect woman. She doesn't seem like the greatest woman in the world who doesn't have any problems. But she's able to share her successes, but also her failures, and make people feel that much more connected to her, right? And so you, as a person who's growing in charisma, you can do the same thing. You can look for times or areas in your life in which you can share more about yourself. You can, look for areas in your life in which you can be more transparent, more authentic, more vulnerable in front of other people so they can feel more connected to you. See, charisma to me is just another word for saying connected. That if you want to truly be charismatic, if you want to truly be the kind of person that can, walk into a room and change the room, it's just all about being connected to the environment you're around. Okay? So we talked about charisma. The next thing I want to talk to you about that kind of goes with that is your professional insecurities. Okay? Because there are insecurities that we all struggle with. There are things that we all deal with. There are things that we all suffer from that we're afraid, right? A lot of times we're not excited about sharing our vulnerabilities or sharing our, things that we've been through is because we're insecure about them. We're afraid. We're afraid of what people may say. We're afraid of what people may think. We are afraid of ourselves. We are afraid that maybe, just maybe, people won't accept us for who we are. Even on a job interview, there's a lot of insecurities that many of you guys have because you're afraid of what people may think of you when you go on a job interview. Well, I can't tell them that I had a conviction because they won't hire me. Or I can't tell them that I'm a single mom because they may look at me being a single mom and decide that because I have small children, I can't work the job or be effective here. Or you may look at a mental condition that you've been diagnosed with and say, you know what? They've told me all my life this mental condition is going to hold me back. And because of that, I'm not going to put it on my application. I'm not going to talk about it because I'm afraid that if I say this, they may not hire me for it, Or maybe something else. Maybe there's another insecurity that you have when it comes to your professionalism that you're afraid that someone at a job interview may not hire you for it. But you know what? Those things don't have to hold you back. Those things don't have to stop you. Those things don't have to be your story. That for everything you've been through, you can turn your downfalls, your frustrations, the places in your life that you failed in, you can turn those things into successes, right? That part of truly being a great brand is learning how to turn the things in your life that are negative into positive results, right? And that's something I want you to think about. How can you really be proactive and take the things in your life that you're most afraid of sharing, you're most afraid of communicating about in the job interview? How can you truly convert those things into positive results? How have you overcome those things? How are you overcoming those things? What are some things in your life that you can think about that you've done to become better or to get over the issues in your life that traditionally may not be looked or good upon? That's what I want you to think about in this section, that if you want to be a great brand, if you want to have a strong personal brand, you have to know how to take the things in your life that are failures and make them into successes, right? You don't have to be controlled by your fear. You don't have to be controlled by your failures. You can convert those into assets to your future, okay? So this entire section goes back to one thing, and that's kind of what I want to end this whole teaching about, is what do you want to be known for? What do you want your legacy to be? That personal branding is less about, Facebook and social media and Twitter and Instagram and business cards and websites and emails. No, personal branding is about you. It's about your reputation. It's about your legacy. It's about what you want to be known for. It's about the things in your life that you want to be known in front of other people for. It's about what you're crafting for other people to talk about you with, or talk about you and use when they're talking about you, right? That's what your personal brand is. I don't want to just be known as a good person who made a lot of money and had a good job and had a family and died. I feel like my life is worth more than that. And I think your life is worth more than that as well. So think about that. What do you want to be known for? What things in your life do you need to change in order to craft a better personal brand for yourself? Because that's what you're going to leave behind. And that's the legacy and a reputation you're going to carry with you, whether you want to or not. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys have an awesome day.